So it's been a year now since the end of the Partnering with Poise course that you took, which was a course for care partners in that group who were caring for people living with Parkinson's, and your husband has a diagnosis of Parkinson's. So it was sponsored and subsidized from a grant from the Parkinson's Foundation. We are now doing the course with other care partners as well. We got a small grant from the Alzheimer's Foundation of America to do the course for care partners of people living with dementia.
Yeah.
And then up in Washington, D.C. at Iona Senior Services Center, they received some funding from the D.C. Department of Aging and Community Living to do the course just for care partners of anyone with long-term needs.
Okay.
So you were in that very early project of developing this, and we've been tracking everybody over the last year since the course ended. So my question is, compared to how you were before you took the course, do you feel that it has offered you something that still is helping you, or that there's a difference with how you are now from how you were before you took the course? And if you could talk about that a little bit.
I don't know that I'm different, but I learned a lot during that Poise project, the training, and just I've been married to my husband, it'll soon be 44 years, and he was an officer in the military, and just a very this is the way you're going to do it. It's not, and when all this has happened with Parkinson's, it kind of threw me for a loop when he was focused on himself, which is understandable, and so I was not realizing. But doing this Poise project thing, it was, and I remember when I met you in Charlotte. Anyway, how far I've come from then, knowing that I am here. It's good for me to believe that I know some things and I can speak the truth, and I don't have to worry about, if he disagrees, it's okay. And just standing up and being who I am, and just taking care of myself. And these exercises that she has to do, but it's to make us to realize, sit up and be strong, and not only it's best for our body, to help our bodies heal and to rest when we're used to be, just, the stress, but to, learn how our body works so that we can do things easier. My husband had major back surgery October the 24th and did a spinal fusion, and they didn't tell us how bad it was. So there were like 3 months that I had to help him get up, and we finally got somebody to come in after a couple of weeks. But long story short, I learned how to be able to help him get out without hurting myself. And people would come over and they would be like, oh, you better be careful. But I'm telling you, it was amazing that I could do what I was able to do because I can.
Because of the Alexander technique
Exactly.
Training that you had.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he just now, like last week, started tying his own shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just so, that was his goal, But
how rough is that, right?
It was
to
rough,
go.
And we had no
Yeah.
idea. Which doesn't matter, looking back. But it was amazing what I learned to be able to take care of myself. Because he's a big man. I could have hurt myself badly if I didn't use those techniques. So I'm tickled that the timing was just what it was. So.
Yes, because the course ended probably like, it was in May a year ago. So you would have had 5 months or so of the information prepping before then.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I put the book away in a special place, and then I was like, oh, I better get that out and look at it. But there was stuff that I remembered. Then I remembered how much it helped, so I went back and reviewed it. So yeah, it was wonderful. But I could have been a better student if I just kept it out there and remembered to check. But yeah, it's still, I love to go and look at it and refresh things.
Yeah.
Some things I read and go, I don't remember us talking. But anyway.
I think there were a few things probably that happened in each class or didn't happen in each class that might have been in the review handout, but they might not have covered. Every class was a little bit different, but it basically kept to those teaching syllabi. Yes, what you're mentioning is we had a binder with review handouts in it and other class materials that helped you during the course to recall and review things, and then after the course was over to be a reference for you.
Yes, I have my special notebook, it's all in there, so yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very pleased that you're using it. So it sounds as if this course happened at a good time for you,
Yes.
that you really integrated so much of the training, and that you were had to use it in a practical way, and that probably reinforced it tremendously.
Yeah.
I like that people said, "Oh, you better watch out," and he said, "No, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing."
Don't know how many times I heard that. Yes.
Yeah. I remember when my daughter was little in New York, and she would run down the street and people would say, "Oh, she's going to fall." And I was like, "No, she's not going to fall. I think she knows how to run."
Got that.
Yeah. So I think that, did your husband, it must have been, comforting for your husband to know that you had that skill too, that he could trust you.
You're right, you're right.
Did he participate in the respite class? He didn't,
No,
right?
he didn't get to come for some reason.
Yeah. So you were really offering him a little bit of education too, because I'm sure you gave him cues as you were helping him stand and sit.
Yes, I had to. The first week or so, he wasn't able to do, he hurt so bad, but as we got in, he was able to realize what I was trying to do.
Yes, we find that with people living with Parkinson's, that back issues, neck issues, shoulder issues can become very severe, and often there's surgery, and after surgery it's very hard to regain mobility, and there can be deterioration. So anything that we can do to help avoid that surgical situation is key. So we have a new course called Poised for Parkinson's, which is for people living with Parkinson's and their care partners to learn Alexander technique together. But that one's focused on the needs of the person living with Parkinson's. So you could imagine, had you both had that, it could have added to this too.
Oh, yes, yes. Because he doesn't, being a leader, an officer, what I say doesn't matter. So if he didn't learn that,
He's the officer.
It's not a bad thing, it's just
No,
one
but
of
that's
those
the way
things.
that's the way it
The way
is.
he
Sure.
yeah. That I've come to realize, yeah.
So what level officer is he?
He retired as a major.
Yeah. So then
20
you were
years.
under his command, you would think. And so it really was, I remember, it was very, very profound for you to be able to have your feet on the ground, your poise, and your ability to be resilient and retain your agency and your sense of self in that environment.
It was a big, thing.
So if you were to share with someone, another care partner, maybe not necessarily caring for someone with Parkinson's, but someone caring for someone with long-term needs, and they said to you, well, I go to a yoga class and I go to a support group. Why would I need to go to this Alexander Partnering with Poise course? What's so different about it? What would you tell them?
I would tell them it's different in that it really educates you to understand who you are, but in your the way you carry yourself and the way how our body is made, that you can be stronger and you can move better and you can think better when you learn these techniques that they teach you to be able to cope with the things that you're going through and to help your person that needs help.
Yeah, the care receiver. Yeah,
care receiver.
Yeah, thank you. Was there anything else? Oh, have you stayed in touch with other people that were in the group? Because it was a group class.
I see Paul and had dinner with he and Janet and Clarice and Jim. The main one. I've seen Malone at the caregiver group.
Yeah. And I hear from some of them that when they run into each other or there's a group or something, Hamilton Kerr or something like that, everybody kind of says, oh, there we are, it's like a secret group.
Well, it's special, to see them, because we know things about them and stuff, so it is a special that
Relationship.
being that group like that, to have that, and that freedom to talk about, you know, and just share things. It was a very, very beneficial to be with other people that are going through the same things. I mean, it's a true blessing for me at that time.
Yeah. When you're caring for someone, it can be very isolating. And for the person who has the chronic condition, it can be very isolating. So we're very intrigued with this potential for delivering Alexander Technique in a group setting. It has been studied and mostly taught one-to-one and privately. So we're really interested in exploring these long-term retention of the benefits of even a group class that met 10 times for 90 minutes once a week. That's not a lot of time, but it sounds like you took a lot from it.
Oh yes, I wouldn't trade it. Needed it just then. It's helped Charlie too so much through this.
Yeah,
To be
you're a
strong.
team.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, you've found your place that is in balance.
Yeah, it was so rough that, you know, even I'm not going to leave him, but I saw a thing on the other day and it said, if I could go back and marry you again, would I? And I said, yes, I would. You know, we are a team. We're doing this together. I know it's hard, and it's hard for both of us, but you know, but I'm here. I will be with you, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So.
Yeah, you're making that choice in a very conscious way, not out of panic or duty, but because you know where you are. You're making, you know what the consequences would be if you chose otherwise. You have the right to choose otherwise, but you've made a choice to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's much easier when one chooses to do that, as opposed to one feels, well, I have to. Right? There is, we have our marriage vows, and they're very important. But underneath that, we always have to say, this is what I want to do.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I noticed when I was doing the long test on the computer that we have to do, that I could just, even as doing that, I could tell that I'm a different person before we started this program.
That is so intriguing, because you are like the 7th person who said that. They said, when I was doing the survey this time, I really realized how different I am now compared to. So I have been telling, and I said to the researchers a long time ago, I said, I think maybe we won't see so much change right after class, but I bet after a year we're going to see change.
You are right. You are right. I mean, bingo. Because it was like, it was exciting to go, I know what I answered before. I remember and how I felt. It was like, so you were right on. So don't take that away. You need to let people see that.
That's very important information, because as you know, with other kinds of programs, certainly like exercise or support group, those benefits are not as retained over time, So this is a very special aspect of cognitive training, like Alexander Technique, that it actually grows with time.
Yes.
Not only do people benefit, right after, but they actually can be doing even better much, much later, after you've lived with it.
Choices, yes.
Mm-hmm. Lived with it, used it,
Yes.
and felt confident in your ability to use it. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this.
Okay.
I'm glad you've done so well, but they're seeing you for what you've done.
Thank you.
And for what you had to go through with your mom to realize that there was a need.
That's right. Well, you were referencing that my mom had Alzheimer's disease, and I was caring for her from a distance back and forth between New York and Pennsylvania for 12 years. And I know how grueling that is, and how consuming it is, and how important it is to have this resilience of, I am here, they are there, and I'm going to continue to retain myself. I would not know how I would have managed all that had I not had Alexander, which I had very early on as my theater training when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
So it was growing in me for years.
Yeah, but
and when I met that particular challenge, it stood me in good stead, like it has for you.
Yes.
And will continue to do so.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.